We don't see a lot of this here locally, but there are newscasts, there are talk shows, there are other places where sometimes people speak on top of each other, or the pace is a little bit faster than we're used to with our local news. And so I've had a couple of people say, well, you're not going to be rude to Mike, are you, when you're going to talk on top of him? No, that's not my intention. But I thought I would give you an example of how long 10 seconds is. This is just for fun. Now, Mike is out in the field. Say hello, Mike, would you?
Hello.
Right, and here's Mike out in the field. And so I'm going to ask Mike a question. He's going to make a little noise, and so that the camera jumps over to him. And then he's going to wait 10 seconds before answering the question. And then you'll understand why we try not to let a lot of long pauses be in our show. And it's a little bit faster than some of our viewers are used to. Maybe slow for some people, but a little faster than others are. So I'm going to toss it out to Mike. I understand that you can see from the background behind you, see it's no longer green, the background behind you that you are currently in Beirut, Mike. So why don't you tell us what's the mood there on the street? Make a small noise and then answer us in 10 seconds, please.
There's a long satellite delay between you and where I'm at here in Honolulu.
No, that's Beirut, isn't it? It looks like Beirut to me. This is what
Beirut after the bombs have gone off and everything is burning in the background.
This is 10 seconds. So we try not to let a millisecond go by and when we're talking about things.
The radio industry, if you pause slightly between sentences, they freak out because of dead air. They do not want dead air of any kind at all, period.
Well, speaking of dead air, there was a meeting this morning, that's Saturday morning, over at Rogue Community College, and Ron Wyden came into town. He's one of our senators, as you know. And so a number of people went there because they're concerned. Well, I mean, they might be Ron Wyden fans. He ought to be in a movie, but probably they were concerned because it looks like that's not going to be as much money as people had hoped to keep our county safety, especially, running here in the way that we'd like it to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've had in the past, I remember there was a commissioner, he wasn't in for very long, Don Reedy, and when, I think it was Wyden that came into town, they had a private meeting with Wyden, and Don Reedy said to him, would you stop? Please stop giving us this good, hopeful news just before our levy votes, because if you tell people that, you know, we're working as hard as we can for you in Washington, D.C., they're not going to vote for a levy. They don't want to vote for a levy. We know they don't want to, but how are we going to persuade them to do so? How are we going to twist their arms behind their back when you're telling them that you're doing your job correctly? Stop it.
Right, and listen, that's understandable because, you know, listen, I have resigned myself to it. I understand the way things work here. Now, it is either one of two or three things are going to happen. You're going to get money from people in the form of property taxes for funding public safety. Number two, the government is going to start paying on their O&C obligation. Another unlikely thing. And number three, we somehow get some leadership that is interested and is effective at getting the federal government to loosen its grip on Southern Oregon. Those are the only possibilities that anything, you know, constructive is going to happen inside of public safety. So there are people that have discounted the other two options, and the only option that is available to their brain is property taxes. And so anything that gets in the way of possibly getting a levy passed is bad news for those people. And I've seen those people ever since I started going to SOS meetings, and I get it now. I get it.
The thing is that I've used this example before. The parents are going to go away for a 4-day weekend. And the kids say, the teenagers are going to stay behind, say, well, can you give us some money in case we need it to keep eating? And they say, look, we've stocked up the kitchen well enough for you to be able to eat. Well, we might need some more. You know that as soon as you're out the door, they're going to call all of their friends, and they're going to blow all that money on a pizza party. Of course they are. Well, we've sat there. We know that it's true. It's proven again and again that if we put the money into the hands of the county commissioners, they're going to blow it. We just did 2 days worth of programs about how they're just in charge of the fire hose of money coming from the state, and they're giving it away to people that say they're going to create 200 jobs by putting some ramps in a park.
Yeah.
But you can trust us because we're always going to spend the money, right? No, we can't. I'm not going to give them any money. I don't want to give them $5,000. I don't want to give them 5 cents because they've proven. And when you do give them the money, they say, let's keep the use of this purposely vague. What?
Right.
No.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I totally get why they're doing it this way. It's the system that is in place. We have a system that operates in this way. That and the analogy that you gave is very good. As you're coming up through your formative years, it is beneficial for you to learn how to work so that you will be self-sufficient in the world. The problem with the O&C Act is that they give us a bunch of money and we don't have to do anything for it. And the problem with that is your moral character goes into the toilet, especially if you're a politician who sees that as a slush fund. Okay? And so the slush fund doesn't exist anymore. And now, you know, and they're totally addicted to it. And so they don't see any other way, and you know, they can't grab a hold of some character and pull their own selves out of this hole. All they have in their quiver is more pleading for more government money, whether it comes in the form of a check from Washington or the check from your back pocket.
I don't believe that Archie Leidy of SOS, or whatever their cuffs or whatever they're calling their group, or that Dave Daniel are evil people. Well, of course not. And so far, they've been pretty good and not saying that we are, because we ask questions about these things. We question government. They've been pretty good about that, actually. Those two, not everybody else. Everybody else, there's something wrong with them. But these two guys, these two leaders have been pretty good about it. And what I've said is, if I can be sure that Dave Daniel will be making decisions, I know not everybody agrees with me about this, but if I'm sure that the sheriff is making the decisions about what to do with the sheriff's money, all of it, and not the commissioners, just in this one case, then I'm going to go along with this, because I know that they need money. I mean, they can't do stuff with no money. The problem is that there's the ISF, the Inter-Service Fund. I think that's what ISF stands for. It'll come to me a little later. And the commissioners get to skim off 10% off the top of that. Well, that's a lot of money when you're talking about law enforcement, and they want that money to go on trips and to buy new laptop computers for themselves and the little minis, and to do remodeling of the commissioner's offices and things. They don't get any of those goodies unless they get part of the money. And when you ask them, they say, well, this is real important, so I'm going to slow down just a little bit. They say, but the sheriff's department needs photocopies and paper and toner and a lot of other things. I say, why are you taking money out of the sheriff's office to go get them photocopied, you know, toner, paper? Why not just let them buy it as they need it? Well, we can get a better price. No, no, no. They can buy it from the county as they need it.
Right.
Well, that's just a little too logical. So they'll say, well, we're forced to do it because state law. Here's the question they can never, ever answer. Ready? Here's the question you ask all of them. Where does it say that in state law?
Yeah.
There's no answer because it's a lie. There is no rule. If there was a rule, you think they would have answered the first 20 times we asked them? Oh,
Okay.
but we've always done it that way. No, sorry, Mike. We've always done it that way. No, they haven't. They didn't used to do it that way. Not every county does it that way. And
Right.
so any time that 10%, 1%, half of a percent is going to go through liars and cheaters, we have them on tape over and over and over again. What do you need? Well, you can trust the sheriff. Maybe, but I don't trust the commissioners. I'm not going to trust the commissioners ever again. And therefore, anything that dumps 10% of the money into their hands, I'm not going to vote for it. Other people have other reasons. We simply can't afford it. Okay, I would go ahead and do so. But I don't want the commissioners involved. We've got Keithek on tape showing us all that he was involved in the beginning of this and putting this out onto the ballot. We've got him on tape. We have every bit of proof that we need. And the bottom line proof is what they've done with giving $5,000 away to something that's supposed to create jobs when it can't possibly create 3 jobs, more than 200 jobs. They're not good money managers. Why are we giving them any money?
Yes. No, I am totally, I totally get what you're saying. However, since we know this, and there are people like Archie Leidy and Dave Daniel, that are pushing for the levy. If they know this, how come they're not making a bigger stink about the 10%? How come they're not saying, hey, listen, in this particular case, why don't you make an exception to wanting your 10%? How can, I mean, there's some collusion there, because they want this to be part of the government game where the commissioners get their 10% too. You know, there's something going on here.
There can be no question about this. Sorry, there's just no question. In 2 times ago on the levy, the sheriff said, well, you know, I just think that this thing about the ISF, yes, it's quite true that 10% of that, oh, it's only 10%, it's a lot of money. 10% of that's going to go to the commissioners to do with whatever they want to, and that's what he said. The next time they got him, or he got himself, to stop saying that. Oh, no, it's going to be 100%. Sheriff, remember the lady, will you swear on the Holy Bible? They swore on the Holy Bible.
Well,
you can't do that.
I've been at the weekly business session when Simon Harris says all of these things have 10% taken off the top. All of them are going to be that way. We do it all that way. Nothing is different. It will always be that way. So they're not going to be amenable to a solution here that doesn't include their 10%.
Do you think that the people that voted, that just they had such kind hearts, they voted for a levy to support the little animals in the shelter? Do you think that they all knew when they voted for that 10% of that money was going to be skimmed off the top by the commissioners so that Simon Hare could fly to Washington, D.C. once again to participate in a gathering? Let me tell you about the last time he was out for a NACO. It was National Association of Counties, I think. National Association of Counties. Just a second. They put a picture on there on their webpage saying, and a good time was had by all. And it shows them relaxing. Okay, they get to relax every once in a while. I get it. And as part of their relaxation, this was on their official website, there's this girl, this young lady. She's on top of a table. She's got spangly clothes on, and she's about half dressed. I mean, it's, you know, it's hugging her bottom and, you know, bare legs and all this. And she's dancing around, and everybody's drinking. Oh, that must have excited Simon. And they're all having, hey, yeah, great, take it off, baby. Hey, I don't want you spending my money this way. What are you doing?
Oh. You know, I think the thing is that I believe that the opponents, your opponents in this thing,
Our opponents, it's everybody's opponents. We're in the majority. We always win, but they always. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
you and I look at this thing a little bit differently because I don't want the levy. I don't care if they get 100% of it, and you are the guy who is fine if the commissioners don't have any control of it. And you know, so your opponents in this situation are going, listen, Dale Matthews, come on. This is how the game is played. So get on board. They're going to get their 10%. You and your ilk are keeping us from having public safety because of your being a stickler on this 10% thing. So what do you say to that?
No. What I say to that is, we're the ones that insist that you do not violate your oath of office. We're the ones that insist that you stick by the Constitution of the United States of America and you stick by the rules, the laws of the state of Oregon. And there's another book that they need to look into that I look into. It's the one my boss wrote for me. I'm pointing in the right direction, not Brian whole claw. Come on, Brian, you're not my boss. I got another one. And stop saying you're my boss, Brian. And so it all goes back to the motto that I've adopted from the service academies. I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. I am not going to turn any of my money over to people who have shown us. We have them on tape lying. We have them on tape cheating. I mean, we've got each of the three commissioners. It used to be just one, then it was two. Now all three of them, we've got perfect examples of how they straight out lied to us, reading from a piece of paper, the rules say this, and there's nothing on the paper.
Right.
So we know that they're liars. I am not going to give any money to liars. So you keep it out of their hands, and I'll make that leap of faith that Dave Daniel is going to spend the money correctly. I want law enforcement. Okay, but that's only if the rest of the populace decides to vote for that. And if they say no, I'm going to go with them. But I will vote yes, as long as you stop lying to us. So here's the question. Ask them this question.
Okay.
Show me in the state law where it says that we must skim 10% off the top for you. Just ask them that question and watch them dance around and try to answer anything but that.
And this is an interesting question. If they paid their fancy polling firm, if they paid them a fat wad of money to do a poll about whether or not people would be in favor of passing the levy, if they could guarantee that 100% of that would go to the sheriff and the 10% would definitely not go into the hands of the commissioners for them to do with as they please. If they could do a poll on that and get a positive reaction that, oh yes, I'd be in favor, do you believe in this world that they would be for that? They'd go, okay, you know what, we're going to relent on the 10% for the greater good. We need to have public safety. Let's give in on the 10% because we're going to be the better people here.
Personally, I would vote for it then. I would. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who say, I simply can't afford it, and obviously you're rich, Dale. I'm not. But I personally feel that we need some kind of law enforcement. I do. So I would go ahead with the benefit of the doubt. What? Dale Matthews would give a benefit of the doubt? Yeah, I would, actually. And I would vote for that. I used to vote for it. I voted for it the first 3 times I was here until I felt that was voter abuse. And so, but I would give, if I saw them giving an inch on this. Here's the other thing. Here's the other question to ask SOS. I mean, this is coming from the commissioners and from the chief financial officer and from legal counsel, the old legal, well, you just don't understand the law. And then I would say to them over and over and over and over again, show me where it says so in state law. crickets in the corner. You know, that they couldn't answer this. So if you're going to spend $20,000 or whatever it was that you spent, why not spend half an hour at home on the internet? Find that rule that says you must do it this way, and you could avoid spending, at least for me, you could avoid spending $20,000 and putting this on the budget, on the ballot. Why don't they do that?
Well,
you know the answer.
They want the money.
There. It's because it's a lie.
Yeah. Well, right. No, but I mean, the bigger point is that they want the money. You know, they want to have that 10% of the money, even the money, the 10% of the levy, the animal shelter levy. That was what for? Well, no, it was a lot of money. It was, how much was it over the 4 years?
I'm sorry,
no, okay, but it was a lot of money.
People out there that could say that immediately, and they would know every answer. Of course, yeah, I don't think many of them realize that they're going to get actually 10% less of that.
Right. Yes.
So tell me what benefit there is to these poor, suffering little animals that Cheryl Walker gets to get on a flight to Washington State to talk with officials there without even telling the other commissioners. She asked for permission after she got back. Tell me how that benefits those little animals.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say that money is influence, and influence is power, and if the commissioners are sort of the mafia bosses here, and they're not going to allow this little building project to take place unless they get their cut. This kind of is how the game is played. I get it. That's how you do it.
Well, we have some power. And it's not through a poll. Well, it's through, as you said earlier, it's the ultimate poll. It's a vote. So look, here's the thing. If there are a number of people saying, you're so hard on these commissioners. Why are you so hard on the commissioners? They're just doing the best job that they can. Well, if that's the case, buddy, then how come a majority of us, every time, these are your best friends, they're doing the best they can, even you don't vote for this dang thing? How's that possible?
Well, the commissioners, they don't respect you enough to tell you the truth. So why should they get a pass from me?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, so what happened this morning with Ron Wyden was that he came in and he talked. Nobody can remember any details of what Ron Wyden said. I talked with a couple people, and I don't know, what did he say? I guess we're going to have to do the best that we can or whatever. What they were thinking about was how the meeting was run. What, really? Yeah, how the meeting was run. I kind of expect that we're going to have foolishness and bad faith in every politician that we have. But what happened was, Ron Wyden spoke, and then they said, well, this is a town hall. In the best tradition of American town halls, look, you go to a weekly business session, that's not a town hall. I mean, that's three lofty personages who somehow think, because even though there's no requirements for the job, they got elected, Cheryl got elected by 62 votes, that they're somehow above the great unwashed, and so you come to them and you're supposed to look at them, even though they don't look at you. You're supposed to address us. Yeah, well, you don't look at us. So now who am I going to talk to, buddy? Okay, but this was Ron Wyden. It was a town hall. A town hall is different than other kinds of meetings. You're there to listen to input from the public. You get up and make a short little talk, and then you listen to what the public wants you to hear. It's a town hall. And so they said, well, what we're going to do is, this is the procedural part of it, because what difference are you going to see in between one meeting and another? Give me a break. And so, well, we're going to take anybody that wants to talk in our town hall. You're supposed to listen to you, and we're going to put all the pieces of paper in a box or something, and then we're going to pull about at random. And whether you came here to speak or not, we're only going to let the people speak who we pull out of the box. It seems fair. It seems fair. And so there were some state officials and some county officials. There was a quorum of county commissioners listening to county business without posting the meeting, which is illegal. So once again, the commissioners were breaking the law. They're not supposed to do that. They know it's against state law. We've told them several times. They just do it anyway, and then they laugh about it. No one's enforcing the law, remember? Okay, so got these state officials there, and they say, okay, the first one totally at random. We don't know who it's going to be. Let's see. It's, oh my gosh, it's Carl Wilson, who is our state representative. What a surprise. That's amazing that we got hundreds of people here, and somehow we picked Carl Wilson as the first person who gets to speak. It's an amazing coincidence. Okay, don't laugh. It's an amazing coincidence. Don't you believe in coincidences? And then after Carl Wilson is done haranguing the crowd, all right, you got to vote for this. You know, from now we know better than you. I'm not going to make room. And remember what he said on the radio? I'm not going to make room and share my community with the people who won't vote for this. You know, just it's my radio station. Screw the FCC. I don't care what they say. I'm not going to be honorable about such things, and they're not enforcing the law anyway. So then they say, okay, now who will be the next completely, totally at random of 98 people who are from the general community, and just a couple of them, or let's see, they're state officials. Next one is, oh, look, State Senator Herman Bertschiger. What an amazing coincidence again. Why, this is totally fair. Why would you have any questions about whether we're being fair with you people or not? You came out here to speak.
Wait a minute. Did they represent that this was a totally random drawing of names that were in a barrel or something?
Yes, they did. Oh, you look like you don't believe it. Hey, you're being so hard on them. They're doing the best that they can.
All I'm doing is responding to what you just told me. That just seems odd to me.
It seems just, what a huge coincidence, really. I mean, we should have had them pick the winners of the next Kentucky Derby, because this is an amazing series of coincidences that keep happening. So they go on, and it's right near the end, and it looks like some of the people who wanted to speak are not going to get a chance to. Can you imagine how upset Mark Seligman was that he didn't get a chance to speak? But okay, you show up, you take your chances. At this point, Cheryl Walker wanted to speak. She didn't get chosen. So she talked to the person with the microphone. I'd want to speak. And so the lady hands over the microphone to Cheryl Walker. She's not going to have to wait in line. I mean, you've had Carl Wilson speak. You've had Herman Bertschiger speak. Why, you've got to let Cheryl Walker. She's not going to stand in a line to see a movie. Get out of the way. I'm a county commissioner.
Well, I'm sorry that I missed the fact that Ron Wyden was going to be in town. I would have liked to hear, what do they say about the fact that they have a contract with us and yet they don't pay us any of that?
This was the question that Mark Seligman was going to ask. Cheryl Walker's not going to ask him that question. All that Cheryl did was use her time to explain to people why they must vote for the next levy, because you can trust us from now on. We really do. Please just forget about the $100,000 cost overrun with the Dimmick Tower. We were in charge of spending your money, but please forget about that. And please also forget about the fact that we've just spent $5,000, any amount of money, on a thing that's supposed to generate 214 full-time jobs from building a ramp. I mean, look, we're spending all the rest of your money correctly. And as Cheryl Walker pointed out, she says, when I drive to Medford, why, I only charge the county half of the ticket, because I might stop and shop on the way back. And by the way, I'm making this part up for comedy. I'm putting less cream in my coffee, so that would you please forget that we spent $600,000 on one piece of software that doesn't talk to any other software, plus $60,000 a year to keep it running, plus we just hired somebody, because that's still not keeping the dang thing running. What's the matter with you guys? You can always trust us. Please trust us at all times.
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. That is the and they don't have a track record. There's no track record there.
Oh, they've got a track record, all right, just not the one that
I
they
know
want.
they don't have a track record of doing things properly.
And
And
so what does this watchdog of the community, the other one, the Not So Daily Courier, what do they do with these stories? Well, they did not report on the $100,000 cost overrun. No, they reported that people were nostalgic about the old hospital because, I went in there and had prostate operation, and I think about it fondly now that this was the Courier's version. They're not going to report that there's a cost overrun. That's embarrassing for the commissioners. They reported that the commissioners decided to spend money on a wonderful project out in Cave Junction, but they didn't report that it was based on the idea that there's going to be 200 full-time jobs created by putting in ramps. They can't report that. That makes the commissioners look ridiculous. Now, where are these guys? How are these guys going to keep their jobs as public relations flack ministers for the county commissioners? Oh, you're being so hard on them, Dale. Why don't they pick up on a real news story?
That's a good question. I guess they don't want to.
I feel manipulated by these guys, or at least they're trying to. So when I see a story, even on the TV station over in Medford, why they've been unsuccessful in so many times on passing this wonderful levy. Hey, wait a minute. No, we've been terribly successful. We're an unbeaten team. We have a decade of nothing but a string of victories. The public has won every single time. So what's this? They're going to try again because we're not fighting against Al-Qaeda. Well, maybe we are.